Okay, boys and girls, we are going to read and discuss the flag maker. The first thing we want to note about the flag maker is the type of story it is. It is a narrative nonfiction. That is the type of story it is. Everybody say narrative nonfiction.
Narrative nonfiction.
So it's written as a story in the story type form, but it is nonfiction. Narrative nonfiction. So that gives us factual information by telling us a true story. So it includes real people and events and shows events in chronological order. That is the text structure. Chronological order. So let's start our story. It is by Susan Campbell Bartolotti, illustrated by Claire A. Navola. Page by page.
It was 1812, and the United States was at war with Britain. A country at war needed plenty of flags. In Baltimore, a 12-year-old girl named Caroline Pickersgill and her mother, Mary, made flags. Caroline and her mother sewed flags so that militia and cavalry officers could direct their men during battles on land. They sewed flags so that Navy ships could communicate with each other during battles at sea. They sewed flags for the privateers that attacked British ships. But no matter how many flags they made, and no matter how many battles the Americans fought, the Americans could not defeat the British.
Okay, stay on this page because I want to ask you something important. Now, our book, our story lists 3 reasons why Caroline and her mother sewed flags. What are the 3 reasons they sewed flags? Tell me the 3 reasons they sewed flags. What are the 3 reasons? Logan, what are the 3 reasons?
A country at war needed plenty of flags.
That isn't the 3 reasons. What are the 3 reasons?
They sewed flags so Navy ships could communicate with each other.
Okay, so that's one reason. So Navy ships could communicate with each other. What's another reason? Tell me another reason, Libby.
They sewed flags for the
Privateers.
privateers that attacked British ships.
The privateers that attacked British ships. Why else, Mikey?
Caroline most sewed flags so bushermen and
Cavalry, militia, and cavalry.
so the officers could direct their men
During battles on land. So there were 3 reasons. So everybody, let's look. So the militia and cavalry officers could direct their men during battles on land. So Navy ships could communicate with each other during battles at sea. And so the privateers that attacked British ships. Okay, and there they are sewing.
One summer day, Caroline and her mother welcomed 3 military officers to their flag shop. The men ordered an American flag for Fort McHenry, the fort guarding the waters near Baltimore. The flag must be so large that the British will have no trouble seeing it from a distance, said one officer.
So where is this large flag going? Ethan, where's the large flag going?
to military officers.
Where are they going to fly that flag? Yanni?
They're gonna fly to Fort McHenry.
Fort McHenry. Where are they flying that flag?
Fort McHenry.
Fort McHenry. That's where they're going to fly the flag, Fort McHenry.
Excited, Caroline and her mother set to work right away. Out of wool bunting, they cut pieces for broad red and white stripes. They cut a large field of dark blue. They cut white cotton stars. Broad. Something that is broad is wide.
So what does the word broad mean? Elisa, what does broad mean?
Broad means something that is wide.
Wide. Broad is another word for wide. Very good. Oh, there they are, sewing away.
Day after day, they sewed stitch after stitch, red stripe after white stripe, star after star. Caroline's grandmother and cousins helped. So did her mother's slave. Her house servant, too. Night after night, they worked by candlelight, long past bedtime. The wool bunting itched. The needle pricked. Caroline's fingers ached, and her eyes felt gritty and sore. But inch by inch, they sewed until the flag spilled over their laps and lay in folds on the floor. Gritty. When something feels gritty, it feels rough and sandy.
So who helped sew the flag? Who helped sew the flag? Ivy?
Her mother's slave and her house servant.
Who else helped sew the flag?
And her cousins.
Her cousins, the house servant, the slave, Juliana,
Her grandmother.
her grandmother. Very good. Did Caroline help sew the flag?
Yeah.
Yes, Caroline helped sew the flag too.
Soon the flag outgrew the sewing room. They carried it to a large malt house. They spread out the flag on the malt house floor, and they sewed still more.
So where did they take the flag when it outgrew the house? Where did it go after it outgrew the house? Kelsey?
A large malt house.
A malt house. So it went to the malt house.
Finally, after 6 long weeks, the last star was sewn into place. The last threads were snipped and knotted. From hoist to fly, it was the largest flag Caroline had ever seen. The flag was delivered to Fort McHenry, where soldiers raised it high above the ramparts. Each day, Caroline looked for her flag as it waved over the fort. It looked tiny in the distance, but she felt proud.
So how does Caroline feel when she looks and she sees her flag? What emotion is she feeling? Avery?
Proud.
Proud. She feels proud. How does she feel, Ethan?
Proud.
Proud. She feels proud.
Over the next year, the flag shop grew even busier. Caroline and her mother sewed more flags. The Americans fought more battles. Yet they could not defeat the British once and for all, and so a difficult year passed. Early one August morning, a horse clattered down the Baltimore streets. "British sails!" its rider shouted. "In the Chesapeake Bay!" Caroline knew British ships meant one thing: invasion. All over Baltimore, church bells clanged, calling militiamen to arms. Men and boys shouldered long muskets and lined up on the parade grounds. A snare drum rolled. A bugle flared. A commander shouted, "Forward march!" The militiamen tramped off to rout the British. All that day, Caroline tried to go about her work. She sewed. She swept. She looked for her flag and waited for news. She swept and sewed and waited still more. The next day, Caroline heard a low rumble like a distant thunderstorm. Cannon. She whispered a prayer for the men. Later, terrible news was again shouted in the streets. The Americans had fought a battle and lost. Now British troops were headed to destroy Washington. That night, men, women, and children spilled out onto rooftops. They watched the sky over Washington. It glowed an eerie orange. The British were burning the Capitol. Caroline looked out across the dark harbor toward Fort McHenry. She couldn't see the flag, but she trusted it was there.
So why was the sky over Washington glowing orange? Teddy?
They were burning the Capitol.
Yeah, the British were burning the Capitol, so they were burning Washington, D.C.
Baltimore prepared to defend itself. Around the city, men dug trenches and built earthworks. Shovels scraped and clinked. Dirt flew. Women and children carried biscuits and sweet tea to the volunteers. In the channel near Fort McHenry, men sunk small ships and barges to block the harbor. Women and children tore soft cloths into bandages. Men moved gunboats into position, ready to fire on British ships.
Okay, so how did Baltimore prepare to defend itself? What were some of the things they did? What did they do? Tell me some of the things. Olive, what did they do?
The men dug trenches, built earthworks.
Yes, they dug trenches and built earthworks. What else did they do, Yanni?
They put gunboats in position.
They put gunboats into position, ready to fire. What else did they do? Elisa?
Women and children carried biscuits and sweet tea to the volunteers.
Yes, the women carried the tea and the biscuits. What else did they do, Clark?
They tore soft cloths into bandages.
Yes, they got the cloth torn, ready for bandages. What else did they do, Juliana?
Men sunk small ships.
They sunk small ships. Why do you think they sunk the small ships into the harbor? So why do you think they did that? What was the purpose of that? Ivy?
So they so it can block the harbor so they can't really go over the town.
Yeah, so they can't sail into the town because it was blocked, so they could block it off. So they did those 3 things, or 4 things. They did a bunch of things, right?
More than
Yeah, they did more than 3. They did a bunch of things.
Once more, Baltimore waited. A day, a week, 2 weeks. The city held its breath and went to church and went to work and waited for the British to strike. Early one September morning, a loud roar rocked the flag shop. Caroline rushed to the window. British ships were bombing Fort McHenry. Fort McHenry's guns blazed back. Hour after hour, bombs burst louder than thunder. Hour after hour, rockets screamed and flashed brighter than lightning. The shop trembled and shook. The streets turned thick with smoke. The smell of burnt powder filled the air. The British ships crept closer and closer. Evening came. The sky darkened with storm. Rain fell. Soon, thunder and lightning joined the cannon and rockets. Ships and fort and sky boomed and flashed together. Each time the sky lit up, Caroline saw that her flag was still there. At midnight, the bombing stopped. 1 minute, 10 minutes, an hour, and all was still. Caroline longed for morning light. Now she could only sit and hold on to courage. She tried not to sleep, but she did. At dawn, Caroline awoke. The rain had stopped. Everywhere, sky and water and land looked gray. She couldn't see the fort. A breeze passed through the window. Slowly, the sky cleared. There, hoisted high above the ramparts, Caroline saw a tired flag hanging from its staff in the damp morning air. A wool bunting flag sewn full of broad stripes and bright stars, with needles that pricked and fingers that ached. A flag sewn full of pride and courage and hope. Hoisted. If you hoisted a flag, you used ropes to pull it up a pole.
Okay, so boys and girls, how was the flag described, or what word was used to describe the flag after the battle? What word did they use, Kelsey? Right after the battle, what did they say about it? It's on page 270. It tells you right after the battle, how did they say? What word did they use to describe it right after the battle? Ethan?
Hoisted.
Well, they hoisted it, but that's not the word they used to describe the actual flag. That's what they did to it. Logan?
Ramparts.
No, that doesn't describe the flag. The ramparts are the walls around the fort, remember? Teddy?
Tired.
Tired. Remember their flag is tired. Everybody, how did they describe the flag?
Tired.
Tired flag. Now, why do you think that they wanted such a large flag? Why did they want such a large flag? Why? Juliana, why do you think they wanted such a large flag?
Because they wanted the British to see the flag.
They wanted the British to see the flag. Why else would they want such a large flag? Yes. What do you think, Avery?
So that the Navy ship could see and they could communicate with the flag.
Okay, so the Navy ships could see the flag and communicate with the flag. What do you think, Teddy?
So the British would have no trouble to see it.
So the ships could see the flag, yes. Yanni, why do you think they needed such a large flag? What do you think? Not sure? Okay, I'll call on Thomas. Maybe Thomas has an idea. You're Thomas.
So the ship can communicate with each other.
So the ships can communicate? Kelsey?
So that the British could see it, so that they knew that America had hopes that they could beat them.
Oh, so America had hopes that they could beat them. That's a good one. Now, why do you think Caroline kept looking for the flag? Why was Caroline always looking for that flag? Clark? Because she put a lot of work into it. Libby?
Because she put a lot of work into it and she wanted to know if it's still up.
And she wanted to know if it was still up. What do you think, Teddy?
It's special because it was supposed to be made the American flag to win the war.
Okay, because it was special, because it was the American flag, to win the war. What do you think, Olive?
I think maybe if it was still up, Fort McHenry was okay.
Because then it meant that Fort McHenry was still okay, and that they had won the battle, they had won the war. That could be it, because it meant they had won the war. They hadn't fallen to the British, right? That Fort McHenry was still in the hands of the Americans. Yes.
Also,
Okay, very good. So those are all some great ideas, that if the flag was still there, they had won the battle. That she was proud of her flag. Oh, great reasons why that flag was still there. Okay, boys and girls, I think you're ready for your test. Somebody tell me, what type of story is this? Juliana? Yes?
Narrative nonfiction.
A narrative nonfiction, that's right. Narrative nonfiction. Very good. Okay.